When someone pulls away as things get close, we often call them emotionally unavailable. But that's usually not true. What seems like indifference is often fear, a self-protective response, not a lack of care. When needing love feels like losing control. For some individuals, the moment they realize they truly need someone is the moment their system goes on high alert. Closeness doesn't just feel intimate, it feels destabilizing. That reaction usually traces back to early attachment experiences. When emotional needs were met inconsistently, dismissed, or subtly shamed, the developing brain formed a protective rule. Dependence is risky. Over time, that rule becomes automatic. The nervous system equates vulnerability with potential abandonment or engulfment. So when an adult relationship deepens, the body reacts first. You may notice sudden irritability, hyperfocus on flaws, or a strong urge to slow things down. The mind then creates rational explanations. Maybe we're not compatible. Maybe the chemistry isn't strong enough. But often the shift coincides precisely with emotional significance. I've seen this repeatedly in real therapeutic settings. A client describes feeling connected and hopeful, then suddenly panicked. Instead of saying, "I'm scared of how much this matters," they create distance. The threat isn't the partner. The threat is the exposure. Distance restores a sense of control. The immediate relief after pulling away is not accidental, it's reinforcement. Closeness increases anxiety, withdrawal decreases it. The brain learns quickly that pulling back works. The relief becomes a reward, even if the long-term cost is loneliness. This is why telling someone to just open up misses the point. You're asking them to override a system trained for survival. Emotional defenses don't disappear because they are logically unnecessary. They soften when the nervous system experiences safety repeatedly. And here's the nuance that often gets overlooked. People who push others away, well, they usually feel things very deeply. They are not numb at all. Actually, they are overwhelmed. You see, intensity without regulation can feel threatening. So instead of leaning into closeness, they suppress it. You'll notice this in really subtle behaviors. After a meaningful conversation, they might become distant the next day. When they're praised, they tend to deflect. When reassured, they might minimize it. And when things are going well, sometimes they create a small conflict out of nowhere. The pattern isn't sabotage just for entertainment. It's actually sabotage for emotional regulation. The problem isn't love itself. It's the fear of what love exposes. This isn't ego at work. It's shame. It's honestly tempting to interpret distancing behavior as arrogance or excessive independence. But in reality, shame is so often at the core. Shame whispers, "If someone sees the real me, they'll leave." When intimacy deepens, visibility increases. You're no longer just interacting through roles or performance. You are being seen. And for someone carrying unresolved shame, that kind of visibility feels dangerous. John Bowlby's attachment framework emphasized that early caregiving shapes our internal working models, our beliefs about ourselves and others. If a child internalizes the idea, "I am too much," or "others don't stay," those models quietly guide adult relationships. When a partner gets close, it activates that old script. Instead of risking confirmation of that fear, the individual unconsciously preempts it. They detach first. They cool down the relationship. They create emotional ambiguity. It just feels safer to control the distance than to risk rejection. But underneath all that detachment, there's often a person who desperately wants to be chosen, but just can't tolerate the uncertainty of waiting to see if they will be. The identity of the strong one. Another layer, often appears in people who were praised for independence early in life. The responsible child, the calm one, the helper. When a child's value is tied to being low maintenance or emotionally self-contained, they build an identity around strength. Emotional needs become private. Vulnerability feels like failure. In adulthood, this can look impressive. These individuals are capable, reliable, and composed. They manage careers, crises, and responsibilities without visible strain. But when they feel hurt or overwhelmed in relationships, they default to isolation. Admitting "I need comfort" clashes with their self-image. So instead of reaching out, they withdraw. Instead of expressing fear, they rationalize distance. Instead of saying "I'm scared you'll leave," they say "I just need space." The behavior is consistent with the identity they learned to survive with. Healthy space versus protective avoidance. Not every need for distance is unhealthy. Autonomy is absolutely essential in relationships. The difference really lies in motivation and pattern. Healthy space is communicated calmly and does not threaten the bond. Protective distancing, on the other hand, often appears right after vulnerability increases. It's reactive, not reflective. So, pay attention to timing. Does withdrawal consistently follow emotional closeness? Does the person struggle to articulate what they're feeling during those moments? Do they reconnect once the emotional intensity lowers? If so, the pattern is likely protective rather than dismissive. Understanding this distinction truly changes how you respond. If you interpret withdrawal as rejection, you respond defensively. If you recognize it as fear, you respond with steadiness and clarity. That doesn't mean tolerating neglect. It means responding to the right problem. What actually changes this pattern? Awareness is necessary, but honestly, it's insufficient. The work involves learning to tolerate vulnerability without escaping it. For the person who pushes others away, the key moment is activation. The instant you feel the urge to detach, criticize, or emotionally shut down, pause. Instead of acting, try to identify the underlying emotion. It is often fear, shame, or overwhelm. Staying in the conversation while feeling exposed is the corrective experience. Not perfectly, not dramatically, just slightly longer than before. Therapeutic approaches that focus on attachment and emotional regulation can accelerate this process. But really, everyday life offers opportunities too. Saying, "I'm feeling something intense and I don't fully understand it," accepting reassurance without dismissing it, allowing yourself to be comforted without making a joke to deflect. Each time closeness does not lead to catastrophe, the brain updates. For partners, the work is different. You cannot dismantle someone else's defenses for them, but you can avoid escalating the cycle. Calmly stating, "When you pull away after we connect, I feel confused. I'd rather understand what's happening than assume you don't care," reduces threat more effectively than confrontation. Consistency matters more than intensity. Safety grows from predictability, not emotional fireworks. Why does the pattern repeat with different people? Human beings are drawn to familiarity, even when it's painful. If emotional inconsistency shaped your early experiences, stability can feel unfamiliar. Familiarity often feels safer than health. This is why someone might repeatedly choose emotionally unavailable partners while also fearing intimacy themselves. The rhythm of distance and pursuit matches their internal template. Breaking that cycle requires conscious discomfort. Stable love may initially feel underwhelming because it lacks dramatic highs and lows. But security is built on steadiness. Healthy attachment feels calm, and calm can feel strange if your nervous system equates intensity with connection. Pushing people away isn't heartless, it's adaptation. Our minds protect us from pain, but old strategies can block connection as adults. Notice the protective function beneath distance. The goal is accountability, not self-criticism. You didn't choose your early conditioning, but you can choose to examine it now. If this resonates, subscribe to It's All Psychological and share with someone who needs it.